excited about the program. We have a couple of upcoming committee meetings I wanted to share with you. Next Tuesday, the World Community Services Group meets at 7:30 in the morning by Zoom. The Programs Committee meets next Thursday, so a week from today at 8 a.m. And the Membership Committee also meets a week from today, immediately following next week's meeting at 1:15. So if you have questions about any of that, let me know and I will get you the information. So with that, if you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And you are muted, but please feel free to join. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I did see Bill Korstad on the line. So Bill is a partner with Support One, and Bill is doing our inspirational moment today. Oops, Bill, you are still on mute. Let me see if you can, there you go.
Okay, some of the inspirational moments in the past have been rather somber. This one's going to be of a much lighter note. I have entitled it The Cookie Thief. One of the most inspirational people I've ever met is Bill Diss. We all remember him, a member of our club, but now deceased. When my wife and I moved into our new home on York Street, Bill and Minnie Diss were the first to welcome us to the neighborhood. Bill introduced me to Rotary, for which I'm eternally grateful. Bill was so proud of his nearly 17 or so grandchildren. He kept a well-worn piece of paper in his coat pocket with all their names, education, and accomplishments. One Saturday at my front door, appeared a 11-year-old boy, around 11 years old, selling cookies for some fundraiser. I recognized his mother standing several steps behind him as Bill's granddaughter. So I realized the boy was Bill's grandson. We bought the cookies and he was offering cookies and we bought these cookies that we didn't really want, but they were to be delivered later and kind of forgot about it. A year later, I should say, the same boy returned to sell us another box of cookies. And I said, wait a minute, you sold me cookies last year, but never delivered. What happened to my cookies? He said, well, when I tried to deliver them, you weren't home, so I ate them. I couldn't resist his honesty and originality, so I bought another box. I never told Bill Diss this story. I didn't want him to know that among his cherished progeny, there lies a cookie thief. The end.
Awesome, thank you. Two other announcements I forgot. So one is that the Rotary Foundation Committee is meeting also a week from today from 3:30 to 4:30. I didn't have that officially in my calendar yet. And I also wanted to give a welcome to Kurt Harris, who is the past district governor, who is also with us today. So great to have both Kurt and Bob on the phone with us. Next is our club secretary's report. Troy Szymanski is partner and fund manager with Outpost Fund and is our current club secretary. So Kurt. So Troy, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Debbie. Welcome, everybody. And in the interest of time, I just want to welcome all of the guests that are joining us today and say we're really glad you could join us this early afternoon. Some birthdays. We want to wish birthdays to quite a few more this week than in the last few weeks. So please join me in wishing a happy birthday to Jim, David, John, Marjorie, and Andrew. Some announcements. Please note our Rotary Happy Hour this evening is canceled. We will resume next week, October 15th. Registration is now open for the Rotary International President's Virtual Luncheon on Saturday, November 1st from noon to 1 p.m. This meeting is in lieu of our regular club meeting, October 29th. Our club is covering the cost for all membership types, and $25 of that cost will be donated to Polio Plus, which each member will receive Paul Harris Fellow credits for. This is also the district's major Polio Plus fundraiser, so additional donations are more than welcome. Reservations are required by Friday, October 30th at noon. Please don't forget to register through our meeting recap email to follow this get-together. Finally, save the date for our next hybrid meeting at the Warwick Hotel and via Zoom, scheduled for November 19th. Reservations for this meeting will be required. That's all from me. Back to you, President Debbie.
All right, thank you. So I want to clarify, I think, yeah, so Seth put it in the text. I think the President's Lunch is on a Sunday, not a Saturday. So just make sure that it is November 1st. So please join me. I have already registered, and it will be one not to miss. It's a great opportunity with Holger being in Germany for us to be able to hear from him. So hope you'll join me. Next, we have Chuck Everill, who will give us, he's going to share the Rotarians for Mental Health Discretionary Award. Chuck is Rocky Mountain for Health, Rotarians for Mental Health Chair, and past DRCF President. And it's my honor to turn it over to Chuck.
Well, greetings. I'm honored to be here to present this award to Seth with our fellow Club 31 members and our district governor and past district governor. And that creates some confusion when I'm commenting about which district governor helped us get to this point. This award is the District Governor's Discretionary Award, originally announced at the August 29th District Awards ceremony. And it's where our district governor recognized Seth and the Rotarians for Mental Health Committee. And I'm a past member of that co-chair group. Seth and his three current co-chairs are in fact the center and the effort that spearheaded this innovative project to address pandemic-related mental health issues. This project has now been submitted by then District Governor Kurt for a Zone Innovation Award, but that's still pending in its evaluation, and we'll see whether we win or not. A quick overview for this project: Rotarians for Mental Health in the district joined hands. They used $20,000 in district money from the Rotary Foundation to create a pandemic-focused project, worked in cooperation with a handful of Front Range community mental health centers, and they identified 750 low-income clients of these organizations that no longer had any connection with their therapist because they didn't have cell phones. So it was a terrifically innovative project. I'd like to pass the baton to Seth. He'll tell you more about the award and more about the remarkable work of he and his three fellow co-chairs.
Thanks for those kind remarks, Chuck. We were fortunate that the district decided early on to focus on the mental health aspects of the pandemic. Disasters have significant mental health impacts that are typically underserved. We're proud that this project reached into every corner of the district. Some of you may not realize that of the 60 clubs in our district, 12 are outside the 6-county metro area. They stretch from Brush to Kremling. The metro area is served by 6 community mental health centers, whose names you probably recognize, but 3 other centers serve our district brethren outside the metro area. Lauren, can you put up the first slide, please? Thanks. I won't read this, but this is a list of all 9 mental health centers involved in this project and the counties they serve. There are 8 other mental health centers likewise serving our low-income fellow citizens in the balance of Colorado. This project connected several clubs with their local community mental health centers. Lauren, next slide, please. No time to read all these names either, but you see members from clubs throughout the district were involved, including our own Ebony Lachey. If any of these folks are here today, thank you, and please give us a wave. I don't think I saw anybody. Of course, this project required support from district leadership. Lauren, next slide. There you go. Thank you. I think some of these district leaders, I know some of these district leaders are here today, and I'm sure I missed others who should also be thanked. Of course, our current district governor Bob Kemp is with us. I think I saw Kurt Harris, and I think I saw Peter Van.
I am here. I am
Well,
here.
Yes, and Dave Williman. So we've got a good representation. Last but certainly not least are my Rotary Instrumental Health co-chairs listed at the bottom of this slide, all of whom I think, I didn't see Bill. Anyway, most are here today. Thanks so much to Bill Farrow with Boulder Valley Rotary, Diane Missimar with Denver Mile High Rotary, and Hanswick with Boulder Rotary. Please wave to the crowd, my friends. This award is really not mine, but rather a testament to great teamwork of over 20 caring Rotarians in our district, representing 16 clubs. That's a collaboration District 5450 can be very proud of. I may go over my time just a little bit, Lauren, sorry, but I feel compelled to leave you with a sober thought. I guess that offsets Bill's happy thought. We had hoped that at least one of the 750 clients receiving a phone would agree to a video testimonial about the help they received from their mental health center and Rotary. Not to beat our chests, but just to raise awareness. Even though we offered complete anonymity, we had 0 takers. Stigma related to mental illness is eroding, but this underscores the fact that it still exists. Last slide, please, Lauren. Mental illness knows no bounds of income or status. If you happen to observe someone seemingly stressed or perhaps just behaving oddly, whether that's a coworker, friend, neighbor, family member, or let's say a homeless stranger, please don't be afraid and don't judge. Rather, please offer your compassion. That person may be dealing with a mental illness, which includes substance abuse, and may not know where to turn, or even if they do, they may not have the faculties to do so. If you're interested in getting involved, please send us an email at the email on the screen. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations to the team. It takes a village for sure. What a great amount of work and recognition. So thank you all. Next up, we have Carter Sales with a very special Rotarian spotlight. Carter is our current Denver Rotary Club Foundation president and is broker principal of Carter Sales Commercial Real Estate Services.
Thank you, President Debbie. Today, I am honored to be here with my good friend and fellow Rotarian, Henry Strauss, to honor him for his years of distinguished service to Rotary and also the community. Henry was born in Germany in 1927, and he and his family immigrated to the United States by the time he was 10 years old. Henry lived at 15th and Emerson and attended East High School and paid a nickel student fare to ride the streetcar along Colfax to attend school. His path to Rotary is interesting. He was appointed by President Jimmy Carter as part of a delegation to travel to the Commonwealth of Dominica when they gained their independence from England. While flying to Dominica on Air Force One, how many people have been on Air Force One? He met a guy by the name of Don. Don said when Henry gets back to Denver, he should look up his brother, Larry Boning, who was a Denver County judge. Henry called Larry and they became friends, and Larry sponsored Henry to Club 31. How fortunate that was. Henry immediately jumped into service and joined the World Community Service Committee, where he met and worked with his fellow Rotarian Pete Wall. In those days, the WCS committee had a budget of $100 per year. Now we have a budget of $40,000 per year. Henry headed up a project to ship a container of medical supplies to an orphanage in China. After working for 2 years to get approval from China and the necessary Rotary funding, the container was ready to be shipped. Suddenly, at the last minute, China decided they did not want used medical equipment, and they disapproved the project. Henry was awarded the WCS Hard Luck Award for his work. Incidentally, the container was later shipped to a hospital in Ethiopia. Throughout Henry's 32 years of service above self to Rotary, Henry is a Denver Rotary Club Foundation Diamond Fellow and a Paul Harris Fellow +6. In 1975, Henry traveled to China and gained an interest in traditional Chinese medicine and began collecting books on the Chinese healing system that was developed more than 2,000 years ago. Over the years, he had collected thousands of volumes of Chinese medical books. In 1995, in honor of his wife, Florence, who had passed away, he established the Florence G. Strauss Indigenous and Integrative Medicine Book Collection and donated the collection to the University of Colorado School of Medicine for medical research. Now I'd like Lauren to show a video that was presented at the University of Colorado Benefactor Dinner in February, describing Henry's generous work and his contributions to the university.
I was born in Germany, and by the time I was 10, I could speak Spanish, French, German, Danish, and English. Got most of them, but that got me started in the right direction. Hitler came to power in January of 1933, and my father was out of Germany by June, never to go back. Depression was at its height. My parents ran out of money, and so they were resettled in Denver by the Jewish Family and Children's Service. And went to the University of Colorado, Boulder, back in 1947 when I got out of the Army. I started out in pre-med and didn't like physics very well, so I ended up in pharmacy. The first time I went to China in 1975, I saw acupuncture, anesthesia, many different things. I was overwhelmed. And when I left, I had a strong feeling that we were missing the boat.
March 16th of 2017, I did my normal 4-mile run. In the evening, I walked downstairs, and that's when my husband realized that there was something wrong. I couldn't answer any questions at all, except with the word yes. I was diagnosed with brain cancer. I was treated with radiation, and that was removed. When the pathology report came back, no one could definitively state whether it was glioblastoma or metastatic melanoma. So a PET scan was done, and they couldn't find any primary source. So the question still remained, how does one go about treating it then? I wanted to go as long as I could without chemotherapy.
No one here knew anything about alternative
Treating it.
Whoopsie daisies, give me a moment, sorry all.
As Seth has written in the chat while we're requeuing, Henry, you are an inspiration.
As long as I could without chemotherapy.
No one here knew anything about alternative or Chinese medicine. I had these 10 books. I wondered if we couldn't maybe get the university to put them on their shelves.
The librarians were interested, and they didn't have a lot on that topic. In the 90s, this was before the internet. It wasn't easy to purchase items that were from other countries. In his travels, Henry continued to pick up items and just bring them back and donate them to the library. That grew into what eventually became his endowment in 1995.
I moved to Conifer from the Washington, D.C. area in 2007. Coincidentally, I was asked to give a presentation at the University of Colorado. Henry was in the audience. I met him, and it was just a fast friendship. It was like two brothers coming together who hadn't met one another. We dovetailed in our professional interest in regard to integrative health and medicine. I decided at that time that I would add my collection to this collection to benefit the community of the University of Colorado.
Not only did Leonard contribute to his books, but he really jumped in and made it a major effort of his life as well as mine.
The Strauss name on the building really connects the library to one of our strongest supporters. It's nice to have a name for the library too. It feels like we're more connected to the university and to the community that's here.
The Strauss Health Sciences Library is meant to stimulate original thinking for all the students on the campus.
To me, the history of the body is the history of the heart. The scars of skin and spirit are stitched into who we are. The Integrative Center, to me, it exists for the scars of the spirit. There's a lot of fear wrapped up in a diagnosis. Fear can translate to anger, it can translate to paralysis, so that one just closes in, retreats. But there's an emphasis on living in all these treatments at the Integrative Center. Every single one of the services that I've had there is a calming effect. Not to say that anxiety disappears, but it certainly becomes less.
A lot of the diversity in medicine and medical training, we threw the baby away with the bathwater when penicillin was discovered. I think every medical student ought to be grounded in the possibilities.
Integrative medicine is the integration of mind, body, spirit, which to me is so essential in healing.
When I see Henry's name on the library, it brings a deep smile to my heart.
Henry has a very clear goal. The library can partner with Henry very easily because we're all about exposing people to information and helping people evaluate information.
After the cancer, I realized how important words were to me, how they served to me. And I thought, if anything that I wrote, if there was one line that could help somebody sometime, well, then why not? I have a book. I have a book of poems in the world. I have come to believe the reason I'm here is that I was meant to live long enough to do this. Each of us has a responsibility to do what we can, to help wherever we can. Be kind, for everyone you meet is carrying a burden.
Henry, you've been an incredible pioneer. You've cared for the university, for the community through your tireless efforts of service, and we all thank you.
Try to spend a good deal of time in learning about these other fields. It's got to be done.
God bless this gentleman who contributes, and I would like to meet him, actually. I would like to be the one who looks in his eyes and says, thank you. And I would mean it.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Henry. You can see that Henry is such a part of Rotary and our community, and I'm so pleased today to honor this great man. So what I'd like to do is present to Henry this crystal bowl from Rotary, and it's inscribed with the following inscription: Henry Strauss, in appreciation for your years of service above self, October 8th, 2020. And we have the Denver Rotary Club Foundation and the Rotary International Wheel on this. And I'm presenting this to you, Henry, in our sincere appreciation. But wait, there's more. I'm also presenting Henry with 2 personal checks from Barbara and myself to honor his, in his honor as well. So one is made out to the Denver Rotary Club Foundation in Henry's honor, and one is made out to the Florence Strauss Fund for the library. And I invite all of you to visit the Strauss Health Sciences Library, go upstairs, look at this collection. It is just phenomenal. We congratulate you, Henry, and wish you all the best and best health. Thank you.
I heard it. It was very moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thank you all. Thank you for watching too. I'll turn it back to you, Debbie.
Yeah, look at all the virtual clapping we can see. I am moved beyond words, honestly. And we have had a number of people ask for ways to get in touch with Henry or you, Carter. If you would, reach out to Henry while you're there with him and find out what is the best way for us to reach out, that would be awesome. Is it home address and email? But thank you so much. Very, very moving.
I might just add, yeah, on DACDB, our contact information's there, so feel free. We love hearing from everybody. And I know Henry does too.
Good. And I can grab that from DACDB while
We
we're
should help.
good.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Now we have our key speaker, Bob Kemp. Bob has been a member of the Rotary Club of Denver Mile High since 2012. He served as their club president from 2015 to 16, during which time the Denver Mile High was awarded the Paul Harris Award for Club Excellence. Bob has served as a member of his club board, club foundation board, and as chair of the World Community Service Committee. Bob has also served an assignment as District 5450 Annual Fund Chair. If you were at our peach sale, you saw Bob working side by side with our club, helping deliver peaches that day. So he is around the district quite visibly. Bob spent his professional career working as a petroleum geologist. He was born in Bayshore, New York, and raised on Long Island. He attended Alfred University, where he obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree in geology and environmental science. He subsequently did graduate work at the University of Montana, as well as the University of Denver. Bob resides in Denver. He lives in the mountain foothills, and he has 3 sons, Lucas, Abe, and Chris. So I am turning the mic over to you, Bob. Welcome.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. There we go. Well, Debbie, thank you so much for that kind introduction. How else can I start other than to say my personal thanks and my, on behalf of the Rotarians of the district, to both Henry and Seth for the great work that you all are doing. It's the spirit of Rotary brought to life. Seth, in particular, I want to thank the rest of the Rotarians for mental health and to basically challenge you that what you've done with the cell phone project has been an incredible effort, but we got to keep it going. There's a lot more work to do, and mental health is an issue that's very important across the whole district. So thanks for inviting me to join you all today. It really is an honor and a privilege to serve as your district governor. I think you all would probably agree with me when I say that the world is changing. And basically, Rotary is changing with it. And the way in which Rotary is changing is kind of something that we're not quite sure where that's going to play itself out. So really, if we think about it, Rotary will respond to the current situation either by letting circumstances wash over us and steer us in how we react in a knee-jerk fashion, or hopefully that we'll basically look at the situation, anticipate some of what we can see coming, and that Rotarians will step up and drive that change, and we will make it work in a way that we are of benefit to the world. I think it's helpful to take a second to look back at what's changed in the last 7 months or so, because really we tend to forget how things have changed. So let me go back to the last weekend in February. And then last weekend in February, we were in the midst of holding our annual President-elect's training seminar, our PET seminar. Debbie, you and I spent some time together at that seminar. And, you know, if we think about it, there were about 400 people all packed into a hotel ballroom at the Radisson out on Quebec Street. Well, at that point in time, nobody was thinking of the pandemic. It was a time to get together and to train for the new year. And we had all these people from 6 different districts, all in attendance and whatnot. Nobody was thinking COVID. If anything, there were a few whispers about, oh yeah, this bug that's coming out of China could be a pretty nasty thing, but it really wasn't here yet. And, you know, if we think about it, it wasn't just all the leadership of the clubs of these 6 districts, but we had Rotary dignitaries from all over the world who joined us. RI President Holger gave the keynote address on Saturday night. Holger was anticipating a normal year for being the RI president. Little did he know that he was about to be quarantined in his home in Germany, and he would spend the bulk of his year being in quarantine. For me personally, after the shutdown, after PET's finished, I left 3 days later for Uganda on a Rotary service trip with Dave Talbot and the Crutches for Africa group. And during the couple of weeks that we were in Uganda, really working to distribute crutches and wheelchairs and walkers to those, many of whom were polio survivors across rural parts of Uganda, the pandemic exploded. The bottom fell out, and pretty much everything began to shut down. It was interesting to see the Ugandan people who really, for the most part at that point, they were not being directly impacted by COVID, but they were hearing what was happening in the rest of the world. And a sense of fear became palpable for those of us who were the tourists, the outside visitors, who were viewed as perhaps the people who were bringing the disease there to the communities of Uganda. It was a little bit of an eye-opener to go through that experience. After a couple of weeks of doing that, it was time to come home. And by that point, there was a full-scale retreat happening, as many folks from North America and Europe saw the gathering storm clouds and were looking to get out. It was time to go home before the storm arrived, and a whole-scale evacuation was underway. We were on one of the last flights out of Kampala, and we were, quite frankly, lucky to get back to Denver when we did. Within a day or two after that happened, everything shut down. Those flights were all canceled. We got back to Denver to go into quarantine because we'd been out of the country. My story is not unique. Each of you went through that same period of time and have your own recollections of how that played out for you. But if we stop and we think about it, what did that really kind of get us to? Well, Rotary shut down, along with everything else. Clubs like yours that had been meeting face-to-face for decades suddenly couldn't hold those meetings, and everybody had to do something different. Well, for a little bit there, it looked like there was going to be a pretty bad outcome because everybody was isolated and we didn't know what to do. But you know what? Spirit of Rotary, basically within a month or so, we found Zoom. And Zoom turned out to be the way to reconnect. That reconnection was an important thing, and a lot of clubs reported that they were having better attendance on Zoom meetings than they'd been having in face-to-face meetings prior to the pandemic beginning. The resilience of Rotarians who missed that connection of getting together with fellow Rotarians was so overwhelming that we didn't worry about changes to bylaws. We didn't worry about direction from RI in Chicago about what we needed to do. We just moved to it and we made it happen, and it allowed us to reconnect. So that reconnection is really the essence of where we are right now. Where are we as Rotarians right now? Well, basically we've found ways to reestablish our Rotary connections. We're beginning to get together again. Those are all important hallmarks of where this thing has taken us. What I can tell you is that now we can spend a little bit of time to talk about the path ahead. And there are some challenges. Overall, our membership within the district dropped 5% year on year. It was part of a long-term trend of downward membership, but it accelerated in the end of the year due to the pandemic. And I think we can all envision that some of that was a direct result of people that we were unable to get to, people who didn't jump in on the Zoom thing and that we lost. Obviously, that's not something that we want to continue. Obviously, along with the decline in membership, there was a decline in donations to the Rotary Foundation. That's a short-term problem and one that we can easily fix. Really, our biggest challenge at this point is how, as an organization, we stay relevant to a new and more diverse generation. There's a whole population out there that's looking at Rotary and asking, what are these people all about and what do they bring to the community? And that's something that we've got to come to grips with, and it is perhaps our biggest challenge in strengthening and building Rotary going forward. Along with the challenges come opportunities. And I don't want to in any way, shape, or form minimize how great these opportunities are. We have the ability to engage virtually in ways that we never anticipated. Who would have thought that clubs could have guest speakers who would be joining us from Africa or Europe, anywhere in the world? Who would have thought that we can have members who might be spending the winter in Arizona or Florida who could be active members in club meetings and whatnot? Those are opportunities that we really hadn't envisioned before, and now they're here for us. We've got to take advantage of them. There's also something here in terms of how we are making membership available to a new generation. And basically, if we look about it, the more traditional model of Rotary revolved around active participation in weekly meetings. Well, we now have the option that people can participate in a number of ways. They can participate virtually. They can participate in service projects without attending weekly meetings and whatnot. People who were constrained by their work situation now have more flexibility. And those are opportunities to bring new members into the organization. We just got to figure out how to make that happen. The bottom line for all this is that we've got to continue to evolve. Rotary's in a state of change, as is the world. And what that means is we have not yet reached the steady state that maybe we would like, and things will continue to evolve. Zoom is a temporary fix. It got us back out there. But really, the next step is we've reconnected with one another. How do we establish that connection with the community, both here locally in the Denver metro area, as well as community all around the world? We've got to reach, that next step is reaching out beyond ourselves as a club and one another and re-engaging with the community overall. Now, I'm a big advocate for face-to-face and hands-on and all those sorts of things, but I'd be remiss if I didn't spend a second to talk about Rotary and our commitment to each other, to the health and safety of our membership. So I don't in any way, shape, or form want to trivialize that the safety, the health and well-being of our membership is first and foremost for all Rotarians. Family of Rotary says we take care of one another, and we don't see anyone getting sick. We don't want people to have to make decisions about whether to participate in an activity based on their own personal risk exposure, as well as the people that they're around, their family and friends that they are concerned about taking care of. So please, in everything we do, we want to do what we can to take care of one another, and nobody should ever be exposed to something that they're uncomfortable with. Personal choices there. We can do that along the way by finding creative opportunities for those who are perhaps a little bit higher risk to be involved in our ongoing service activities. I think we all know that there's an endless variety of tasks involved in implementing projects that revolve around phone calls and emails and ways for people to get involved, even though they themselves may need to stay remote. Those are the challenges. I've talked a lot about change, but let me talk a little bit for a second here about what's not changing. And basically what that gets us to is that there are core values here. Rotary's core values, the four-way test, and what we're all about, our commitment to service, those are all things that are not changing. What's changing is how we do things, not why or what we do. It's just the way we implement them. And that's the way this thing is going to play out. We've got to offer our members, both current as well as prospective, more than a weekly Zoom call. We just need to find ways to do that. Along the way, we've got to think about how we attract new members, because coming into a virtual environment is a little bit different than the fellowship we'd all enjoy as a potential new member coming into a warm and friendly meeting environment. Those people on Zoom may not quite be sure what they've signed on to when they join one of our meetings virtually. But if we work at it, we can make those people feel warm and welcome and part of what we're talking about. And perhaps they'll want to get further involved with Rotary as we go. So let me kind of wrap this up. I know we're short on time here. What are some key things that we really need to focus on in the months and years ahead? First and foremost, how else can we say it? We as Rotarians all made a promise to the world, and that promise was to eradicate polio. It's not a promise to get polio almost eradicated. It's a promise to get it done, to have it gone, to put this behind us. And until we fulfill that promise, we're coming up a little bit short here. And so my challenge to everybody is to recommit to polio eradication. Now, I'm saying that, and Club 31 has led that charge for decades. But I'll ask again for Club 31 to continue to lead that charge. October is a special month for polio eradication. It's World Polio Day, and we are doing this special event on November the 1st. And I hope that in addition to participating in these activities that revolve around polio eradication, that Club 31 will step up big time and lead the charge in terms of donations. We're hoping to do a $40,000 month in October through the polio eradication benefit on November the 1st. And I know I can count on everybody on this call to do their part. The next key things that I really need to emphasize, we need to offer our members the opportunity to provide service. This is not a spectator sport. This is all about what we do as Rotarians to make a difference in the world. And that's that juncture that we're at, is re-engaging to make things happen and to get out there. Because at the end of the day, Rotary will not be remembered by the rest of the community for what we didn't do. We'll be remembered for the things that we accomplish. And so it's in that spirit of Rotary service that, again, I challenge everyone, let's find things that need to be done and make them happen. While we do that, we need to think both locally, and we know that there are more needs here in the community than we've seen in decades, simply because there are people who are suffering through the full ramifications of the pandemic. There are needs that we haven't even really honed in on yet. Food insecurity, homelessness, and certainly mental health issues that Rotary can make a big difference in. But in addition to those local things, we can't forget that we're a global service organization as well. And so recommitting on our commitment to doing projects internationally. This is not the time for the US to turn its back on the rest of the world. the end of this whole thing, we've got to offer a value proposition that resonates with prospective new members. And in addition to those prospective new members, we've got to keep our focus on engaging our existing members. If we do those things, then I'm real confident that Rotary will emerge from the current crisis a stronger and more vibrant organization. And at the end of the day, that's really what this is all about. So that's kind of my thoughts on what I see happening in the Rotary world. And with that, I'd open it up for questions and comments.
I have asked people to send questions to me by chat. They can also raise their hand. I've got one question queued up so far. And for you, around the district, what examples, big or small, can you think of where clubs are doing things differently to try to adapt?
Boy, there's so many examples of that sort of thing. I'm trying to schedule my club visit to the Westminster Club, and it's proving to be a little challenging because they've changed their meeting schedule. They're now meeting once a month virtually, but they've committed to do two hands-on service projects a month remotely. I thought that was a very unusual approach to doing things. I see that all over the place. People are looking for ways to adapt and changing things up. I would guess at this point, somewhere between a quarter and a half of the clubs of the district are experimenting with virtual meetings. And people are identifying service projects that allow them to get back out. You know, we're trying to be careful about protecting the health and well-being of our members, but at the same time, we need to recognize we've got a lot of people who are itching to really kind of get back out there and get together and do things. We just need to do it safely.
All right, another question. What are some service projects do you see that are most inspiring?
Boy, you know, everything that Rotary does inspires me. There's so many great things going on. And because I'm involved in the approvals process for our district grants and get to look at our grant activities, it's amazing all the different things that are going on. We just approved a grant the other day for a project to support a holiday celebration that involved Mrs. Claus greeting kids to make you know, the holidays a little bit brighter. People are wrestling with ways to get back out into the community. A particular thing, and one that I'd throw out to all of us who are involved in the downtown Denver clubs, the Area 1 clubs, is the Metro Caring food bank program. And, you know, we've made some great strides in supporting the Cherry Creek Club in terms of doing that. Joel Russman from Cherry Creek made an appeal in the club president's call here a week or so ago, and they've gotten some response from that. And that's one of those projects that all the clubs, particularly the downtown clubs, can have a role in making that happen.
I know we've had a couple people go to Metro Caring on at least 2, maybe 3 different occasions. So we shared the information last meeting about raising the age limit, which is exciting. And we're working on gathering a group to get out there again. So that's definitely a very worthwhile project.
You know, I personally was a little frustrated with the 65-year-old age limit. There are a lot of us who think that, well, I'm able to go do these things. So the relaxation of that requirement opens up opportunities for those of us that are on the far side of that cutoff. The condition is we want to be careful. We want to be making sure that everything we do keeps our members safe.
So there are a couple more questions, so I'm going to keep them coming. Each club is being innovative. How can we build upon the best ideas of other clubs?
Well, I think certainly sharing ideas is a place to start. And Debbie, I guess I'll ask you, you know, right now, every 2 weeks, all the club presidents from across the district, we're holding these biweekly presidents calls, and the idea there is to share some of those best practices and to open up a dialogue for everybody to cooperate. I hope we're meeting that objective, and you know, the thing that I'm going off of, this was something that PDG Kurt, kudos to Kurt for getting that started. And when I came on board, I looked at it and said, wow, this is turning out to be a real popular item. So let's keep it going. So I don't know if you find that to be helpful or not, but.
It's definitely helpful. I think it's time well spent and good to see. And, you know, it was from that meeting that I brought back the message around the Metro Caring age change, so that it's a good way to be able to translate and share information back to this club.
You know, I'll look at some of what I see happening in the, I guess I'll call it the downtown area. My personal observation, I see more homelessness now than I think I've ever seen in Denver. And I guess I'd wonder what we as the downtown clubs can do to basically work on that issue, to support people who are displaced through no fault of their own, simply because they had to make a choice between paying rent and buying groceries. We know those things are happening.
Yeah, when we're working on figuring out what are our kind of key areas of focus, so that plays into that as well. I'm going to try and sneak in a few more questions here. So the next question is, what kind of virtual projects are clubs doing?
What kind of virtual projects? All right, let me think for a second here how I can respond to that. Well, you know, okay, one of the first things I point to is that all of our international activities at this point have essentially become virtual, right? Nobody's going overseas to work on international grant projects. And that's an area that I think we've got opportunities to do stuff to keep that activity going, but to do it virtually. So I throw that out. I know that Carolyn Schrader and the project she's been involved in Zimbabwe, they've been able to coordinate using Zoom and to keep that whole thing moving. And I'm sure you guys have got similar examples of where people are doing things a little differently, but still finding ways to move ahead. So I wish I had a better answer on that one, and looking for ideas there as well.
Here's another one. Ian said I could share that it was from him, Ian Campbell. A little birdie has talked about something that's happening at the district level to respond to disasters. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, Ian, what a great opportunity for me to get a plug in for really what's turned out to be the inaugural fundraiser for the district-wide disaster relief program. You know, we've been trying to build out a workable disaster relief thing, recognizing that disaster relief is better accomplished on more of a district-wide level, rather than having 60 clubs each doing their own individual thing. There was an opportunity there for us to collaborate. Well, the first project that we kind of landed on was working with some of the small communities in Southern Oregon who quite literally whole towns got burnt over. And what we found was that we had connections to our fellow Rotarians in some of the clubs there in Southern Oregon. So we're currently doing a fundraiser, and the proceeds for that fundraiser are targeted towards tradespeople who have lost everything. And if you can imagine yourself in a situation where, you know, your tools of your trade are how that's your livelihood. And you wake up one morning and you basically get chased out of your house, which maybe is a rental property that you don't have rental insurance on. and you lose all your tools. So we're going to work with the local Rotarians out there in Southern Oregon to help get people back on their feet by helping them out with stuff that there's no government program to assist getting them what they need to get back to work. So Rotary's going to step in and try and make that happen.
All right, well, another one. I'm going to try and get 2 more in. What are other clubs doing in lieu of in-person volunteering, given so many people are being even more cautious or are in the high risk category for coronavirus, so they don't want to come out?
You know, I mean, we've always been collectively as a group, and Club 31 particularly so, very generous in providing financial support to all kinds of different projects. I'll point to the COVID. We did a series of mini projects, mini grants that we did this spring, really in support of various COVID initiatives. We bought a lot of groceries for a lot of food banks across the metro area. And that was all done without anybody having to put themselves in harm's way. So our financial support is certainly part of things. But I'm a big advocate for it takes more than just being check writers. We've got to find ways to get back out there and involved. And what we see is that there are opportunities to do it without people actually having to get out of their comfort zone. And what I'll point to is, I think there are opportunities for Rotarians to engage with other people who are isolated, forming up phone trees and that sort of thing to really reconnect with people who, a lot of them senior citizens who are isolated because they're at home by themselves and maybe don't have family and would appreciate somebody checking in with them from time to time. I have not seen that project, but I would think it would be an ideal thing for those of us that maybe have to be a little more careful to still do something.
All right, last question. How do you compare the importance of members getting involved at the district level to the club level? What district areas need more volunteers?
Boy, that's a loaded question. Okay, first and foremost, I think all Rotarians need to find their own path to how they serve. And really, I'm thinking in terms of what I'm going to be doing when my year is over and I've handed over the district governorship to DGE Ray Anderson. And I've kind of in the back of my mind got a little bit of sense of, well, I'd like to get back more into individual project work and that sort of thing. The district always needs help with things. We always looking for people to work on membership, but there are a whole bunch of other committees that people can get involved with. But don't discount club service as an important vehicle too. It really does, it's a trite saying to say, well, it takes a village kind of thing, but there's an element of that here. A lot of clubs have lost fundraisers. And so there are a lot of folks who are scurrying around trying to figure out new and creative ways to support our spending habits. And, I'm guessing that that's something that's going to take some people to get involved in. The district is now a 501c3, and we're doing things like this disaster relief program. Ian, what do you think? Do we need some extra help with disaster relief? There's all kinds of things like that. So
and I heard district polio committee needs new members. So there's a plug for that.
It'd be great to get everybody, can somebody make a bunch of phone calls and get folks to participate in this event we're doing with RI President Holger on November the 1st.
Well, with that, you'll be happy to hear that in your honor, we are making a donation to End Polio Plus to inoculate 33 children. And with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation 2-for-1 match, 100 children will be inoculated in your honor. So thank you so much for your time today. Next week's program is a hybrid program. That's not true. It's Zoom. It says hybrid on my script. Zoom. It's Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. So we will be on Zoom, and our speaker will be Dr. Dennis Roop, Director for the Gates Center for Regenerative Medicine, and the topic will be stem cell research. So with that, we will end on the four-way test. So please join me. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.